that I'm a fighter.
Happy Monday, Patriots. Welcome to the America First Patriot Hour. I am your host, Leo the Lion, and tonight we will be welcoming in onto the show Rachel Alexander, reporter, Arizona Sun-Times. And Rachel's done so much more. She's absolute somebody I turn to for all things Arizona. And my friends were 8 days away. What do you guys think about that? 8 days and counting. So we have so much happening and a lot of it good. But we cannot get complacent and we can't sit back and think, oh boy, we've got this wrapped up. We're going to win. No, we can't think like that. We have to think nothing is over until somebody says we can now call it Donald J. Trump will be the 47th president of the United States. It'll be great words. It'll be glorious to hear. And it is going to be something that I believe is going to happen. But you know what? We want to talk about what's happening today in the swing states. A lot of stuff is happening. And I want to make sure that we talk about Arizona, have ample time to talk with Rachel. She was at the rally, the Trump rally in Arizona. So she'll give us some update on that. She'll tell us about one of her favorites, which is Elon Musk, and of course Donald Trump. So why don't we take this time and let's bring Rachel into the show. Rachel, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Thanks for having me on again, Leo.
Oh, excellent. No, I love having you on. You're a show favorite. And, you kind of get used to certain people in the business and you like what they bring to the table. And you are absolutely one of those people. And Arizona is such a hard state to figure out sometimes. So, Maricopa.
Because we're conservative, but we have all this election fraud going on. So people think that we're turning blue or purple.
I'm sure Katie has a lot to do with that. But it's just, I got into a little bit, you'll get a kick out of this. So if I say Stephen Reacher, you know who that is, correct?
Oh my gosh.
And
I'm so glad he got defeated for re-election in the primary.
So I'm on X with him and I'm going back and forth and I'm like, dude, keep this stupid stuff up, because he comes out and he says, well, it's going to take 2 weeks for Arizona to count the ballots. And I'm like, you do know that India counted in one day and they had 600 and how many people did they have? 640 million they did in a day. And I'm like, and you guys in Arizona can't, it's going to take 2 weeks? I said, dude, do you look good? Go ahead.
Well, then they spit back these technical bogus excuses at you. They keep saying, well, state law says that we can't start counting the last minute early ballots until election day, blah, blah, blah. That's not accurate. They lie. There was a state law that was passed that said you could start counting these ballots early at the voting locations when people vote them. And Maricopa County said it would just be too much work. We're not going to adopt it. But they don't tell you that. They don't tell you that they had the opportunity to do that and they refused to do it. They are so corrupt. And I can tell you right now, I had a key election attorney who regularly litigates with Maricopa County who told me that. So this is good info. Don't believe the lies from Richard.
Do they not understand that they're going to go to jail this time if they get caught? Trump has come out firmly and he has said, do not cheat this time. If you get caught, and we're watching from everywhere. I mean, you got James O'Keefe and his guys, his crew behind the scenes. You got all these Turning Point USA, and you got all these poll watchers, and you got all these people with cameras and phones and videos. It's like, why would you do it? Are you so compromised that you have to do it? Is that where Stephen is at?
They think they can get away with it because they got away with it in 2020 and 2022. Hardly anybody has gone to prison so far. But, as I've been posting on X recently in the last few days, I think the tide is changing. And I think we've got so many eyes watching them, looking for the cheating now. We've got all kinds of signs that things are changing, from Elon Musk getting involved and being concerned about election fraud, casting that light on it, to some of the courts finally changing. Our Arizona Supreme Court, which had a mediocre record on election integrity, finally in spring ruled that you cannot sanction attorneys for bringing election litigation. These changes just keep happening and happening. That Maricopa County elections employee who was caught on video stealing a voting machine tabulator key fob that would have reprogrammed all 140 voting machine tabulators on a primary election day in Maricopa County. Bill Gates said that, wasn't even me. The fact that he got caught the very next day after stealing it shows that things are moving. And let's not forget, former Attorney General Mark Brnovich, he did put one ballot harvester here in jail, I think 30 days recently, for her corruption for ballot harvesting. So yes, things are changing, and there is a possibility somebody might actually go to jail. But the people they usually put up to this, they are the low level people who, half the time they already have felonies. So what do they care? The dude that was caught, the Maricopa County temporary elections employee, he should have had a criminal record, but Maricopa County prosecutors, because they're under Rhino Rachel Mitchell, they never actually pursued it the way they should have. Otherwise, he would have never been hired in the first place.
It's since COVID, everything changed, and then they used that to their advantage, and they completely took us, I don't want to say by surprise, but we didn't even have poll watchers and stuff in there. That didn't happen until 2021, the new law. So they completely caught us with, not feeling really good and not being in a good place from an election integrity standpoint. But things have changed, like you just said, like you just spelled out. Now the question is, Arizona's looking very favorable. I showed these numbers a second ago. I'll put them back up on the screen. So this came out today. I got this from Charlie Kirk had put it out, and I just copied the message. But so Arizona's up 99,000 over the Democrats right now. That, Rachel, that is a 226,000 swing. If you factor in the Democrats were up 122,000 in 2020. So that is a 226,000 vote swing. What do you think is leading that? Is it just Trump? And like we said earlier, it's the new hip thing now is to be MAGA. Everybody's coming over because of Elon and Tulsi and all this stuff. The young people are gravitating to MAGA. And is it also because Kamala is such a dog and just a dog candidate? She is just not a good candidate. What's your thoughts?
Well, first of all, Charlie Kirk's own organization, I think, probably gets the mammoth amount of credit there. They have the most amazing ground game, getting people out to register to vote and vote early. It's just been phenomenal. They're mainly hitting the battleground states. All I ever hear about is that operation. So I credit him with probably the majority of that. The GOP here has been tremendous. Usually you've got GOP infighting and people calling the GOP rhinos. Here in Arizona, almost everybody is pretty united, from the RNC to the Arizona Republican Party. We've got the incredible, Gina Swoboda heading it up, who ran the Voter Reference Foundation for years. So she knows voter integrity better than anybody. We've got wonderful Maricopa County GOP led by Craig Berland. So I think that is a huge contributing factor. And I just want to point out, for everybody that doesn't realize it, Republicans are still a lot that insist on voting on election day. So you would think that the numbers for Democrats would still be, a lot higher than they are. So the fact that Republican numbers are this astronomically ahead, way ahead of the Democrats in early voting, it's even more than you think. And I have a friend who goes around the state interviewing voters about whether they're going to vote for Trump or Harris. And he said, he's interviewed over 1,000 voters, and he deliberately tries to go to some of the bluest areas because he got tired of only hearing Trump, 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 Trump. So he's like the middle of Flagstaff and University of Arizona, and a lot of Tempe people asking him. And he said 75% are voting for Trump, not Harris. That is good polling right there based on 1,000 people. I think it's going to be a landslide if they don't do any cheating.
Yeah, no, Mark Mitchell's become a friend of the show like you are. So you guys are the repeat offenders that I bring on because you guys are so packed full of knowledge and you're so kind of ingrained with what's happening. You were at the rally last week with Trump. Why don't you tell the viewers, give them a little bit of little overview of what you encountered, seeing all the cool people, seeing Trump and the vibe on the ground, and what were some of your takeaways?
So I've been to several Trump rallies at this point, and this one looked pretty good. We had Carrie Lake as, like the second main speaker there. Vivek Ramaswamy showed up, surprised everybody. And there were just a couple themes that, really, stuck out to me. The main one all throughout was border security, and studies constantly show here in Arizona that and the economy are the number 2 issues that people care about. They don't care about baby killing, which is the only thing I ever hear from the Kamala Harris campaign is, let's have more laws to kill our babies and let's talk about how much we hate Trump. So the mood was just phenomenal. Talk about the party of joy. It sure ain't hers. I've seen photos and videos from her rallies, and I'm sorry, but it's just a bunch of old white people who are bitter and grouchy and fat, and they're all on their pensions and being fed a line of bull. And, so don't believe, they're fake images that, she's the party of youth, because they're not. And, we recently heard that Hispanics are now even voting for Trump. This is unprecedented. This is unheard of. So the vibe at the rally was incredible. It was announced at the very last minute. Even so, the 5,000 person stadium at Arizona State University, which is not a conservative area, completely packed. I was parked on the 5th floor of the parking garage next to it. It took me 45 minutes to get off the 5th floor.
Jesus. And I kind of made a joke because I had Rachel set up to come on last Thursday, and then she immediately got back to me. She's like, "Oh, Leo, I'm so sorry. I'm forgot about this rally, so I'm going to go to the rally." And I was like, "Oh man, I see where I rate. I get bumped for Trump."
And it's an all-day rally, believe me. I mean, even though I get to skip the line as media or whatever, they make you get there hours early, or they will not let you in, even as media. So, like, my whole day is just gone. I go to the rally, I come back, I write it up, and it's a big ordeal. But I mean, I love it. I mean, we are so blessed, those of us in swing states, to have all this attention. Before 2020. Arizona was not a swing state. We never saw any ads. Trump came to the state once or twice. Now he's here every couple weeks.
Well, it's become so important in a border state too. And the border is such a massive topic. And, I seen today where Kamala and Biden had undercut the illegal crossings by 25,000 again. So, and it's, you see people being killed all the time. You see illegals coming across, and you see this and you hear it, and you see like the Jocelyn Ngari story where Trump had her mom there. And it's just, we're like 2 different ends of the spectrum, Rachel. You got the good and you got the evil. And I firmly believe that. Because all we're trying, when people say MAGA, I'm like, you do understand that it only stands for making America great, right? Like the country you live in. Is that really hard? That would be like coming to your home and saying, Rachel, make your house shitty again. You know what I mean? It's like, nobody's going to ever do that. You want to, where you're staying, where you're living, you want to make it as nice as possible. And then you hear all these stories about Trump, how much money he gives. He gave $7 million to the North Carolina Hurricane Fund. And nobody knows that. You tell them about the Jennifer Hudson stories where he welcomed them in and took care of them when they had a family tragedy. He does all these things, and people still, the left is left with nothing but calling him Hitler and a Nazi. So what's your take on that?
That's all they have. They don't have substantive arguments against him. So it's just fourth grader name insults. And Elon Musk tweeted something a few days ago that I retweeted. I just couldn't believe how bad it was, where he found that, 3% of journalists identify as Republican. That's insane. I mean, I am one of the 3%, and I'm proudly so, but I mean, we're so censored by Google and big tech and social media that our articles aren't getting out there. So you have all these MSM articles out there that are just bashing Trump and not reporting anything good that he ever does. And, I'm going to give a shout out right now to Luxel, this new search engine that is kind of like Google used to be 15 years ago, but even better because you can set it up to only get conservative results or only get, left-wing results or add in mainstream media, blah, blah, blah. So those of us it's called Luxel, Luxxle. And it's basically giving us conservative journalists some new life, because otherwise we've been Orwellianly written out of existence. Nobody sees our posts except on X.
Well, and like you said, you're the 3%, but you would follow the facts, even if the facts didn't shine well on a conservative, because you have a reputation. You have journal integrity. And unfortunately, what's happened to the media is, like, YouTube censored the Joe Rogan Trump podcast. And today, after X complained about it, they finally put it back up. They were only showing clips of it. And then Elon came in and he said, okay, what are you doing? Why are you censoring this? So, Zuckerberg says, oh, no, we're going to show everything. We're going to do all this. Well, of course they don't. But this tells you what a dog candidate Kamala is. You control 97% of the mainstream media, and they're all activists and propagandists. You control all the newspapers, which you and I were talking. 4 major newspapers now have said, nope, we're not endorsing her. Washington Post, New York Times, USA Today, and now Tampa Bay.
It's just incredible. I mean, it gives me hope that we might actually win this election. People are waking up. And, I admit earlier at the beginning of this year, I did not have a lot of confidence. I just figured they were going to steal and cheat the election again. But I said we still have to work every single angle. And that means ballot chasing. That means, working the polls as observers and election workers, looking for the fraud. We have to hit all angles. And I feel I'm really proud of the Republican Party. I feel like they are doing it. We didn't get as many laws as we wanted passed. The Arizona legislature only got about 1 passed because the alleged Governor Hobbs, of course, would only sign 1. And it, wasn't the greatest law. So we're going to have to compensate in other ways. And I feel like we have, between the ballot chasing and all the litigation efforts that are ready to go, and, the armies of attorneys, about the only thing I'm really worried about is these election fraud denying judges. And because they're the ones that are going to have to decide whether they're going to prosecute the fraud or they're going to find some technical excuse to throw it out. And I'm hopeful, at least here in Arizona. I compiled a list of the judges up for retention election. I spread it around. They know we're watching them. And so it's all going to come down to who that presiding judge wants to appoint to handle these election cases. But he knows we're watching him.
You know what? That's half the battle. If you have oversight, and like this year, it's way different. We got poll watchers inside there. We've got all these people watching. We got all these people with cameras. People's watching ballot boxes. Ballot boxes have been decreased. You've seen the Fifth Circuit ruling in Mississippi where they said you can't count. I don't care if it's dated good or not. You can't count after November 5th. I mean, that's massive. So
I
then
know,
you
and
hear
it applies to all the states in that jurisdiction. So, and the other circuit courts need to look at it. Like they have to consider it, even if they don't have to abide by it.
well, so who was it today? Nevada. So your sister state over there. They decided, they came out and said that the Nevada Supreme Court said, oh no, it doesn't even have to be postmarked, and we can still count them 4 days after Election Day. Did you see that today? It came out. And I'm like,
can you repeat that? Somebody was just knocking at my door, so I missed what you said.
That's okay. So Nevada, did you see the ruling that came out from their Supreme Court today? Where they said,
remind me, because
you can count. So they said now you can count, even if it's not postmarked by the election day. The Supreme Court says you can now count 3 to 4 days past the election.
Oh, no, I did not hear that, but it does not surprise me considering they are looking like they are going for Trump. You know, this stuff, you can't make this stuff up.
No, and why would you even do that after the Fifth Circuit ruled? So you do know this is a federal question. So if it's a federal question, even though it's the Supreme Court of a state, the Supreme Court of the United States takes precedence. So they can hear this case. So I guess the question is, will they be able to hear it in time? Or because the Fifth Circuit has just ruled, could they come in and put a stay on the Supreme Court of the Nevada and say, no, we'll get to it after the election, and then shoot that down? I'm very interested to hear that, and I know you're close to it, so I'm going to be interested to see what you find out about that.
Well, and I will tell you this, you know I'm the former Maricopa County elections attorney.
Oh, yeah.
And if the U.S. Supreme Court wants to jump in anytime on any of these cases and decide them before the election, it can do that. And if all these bogus technical excuses that these courts come up with, and they don't want to accept a case, or they said there wasn't standing, whatever, none of that's true. If they want to do something about one of these issues, a court can do that. And you guys can look over the list of 92 election cases from 2020 that I did a report on based on the wonderful John Droz's research. He put together the 92 cases. I just fleshed out the outcomes of them. There are some cases where a few brave judges, including a judge named Thornhill in Iowa, ruled in favor of election integrity. Trump did not lose on a couple of those cases because he stepped in and put his foot down and didn't come up with some bogus technical excuse.
Well, I'm really interested to see this one just because of the other dominoes. So with the Fifth Circuit coming in and that impacting multiple states, and then Nevada trying this and you know what they're trying to do. But they're getting killed. So Nevada, right now, they got Trump like 70-30 on Polymarket. Arizona, you guys are like 70-30 or 60-40 or something big. Even Burris came out today, and he said Trump could end up winning 350. If this thing landslides like we're seeing it, he could win 350 electoral. He's winning. Did you see where he's winning New Hampshire now?
I hadn't even seen that. And by the way, do you remember the numbers in Nevada? I think they were almost like 2-1. Like twice as many Republicans had turned in their ballots as Democrats. That's even way higher than in Arizona. We have like a 7%, 6 or 7% lead over Democrats.
Yeah, no, it's massive. Arizona's got 104,000. Nevada right now has got 54,000, but the Democrats are down 71,000 since 2020, and North Carolina has 328,000. And I had David Gordon on from the Virginia Project on last week, and I'm like, David, I think you guys are going to win Virginia. I honestly believe, and today Mark came out from Rasmussen as Harris only +2 in Virginia. So
right, because up until now, nobody's talking about Virginia being a battleground state. They pretty much ceded that one to the Democrats.
Well, he was +10, right? And they've already cut away from that. So when I spoke to David last week, he was telling me, we've already eaten into the +9 Biden just by the early vote. So you're seeing enthusiasm because we are the hip, cool rebel party. And you're seeing the horrible party because she can't even answer a question. People don't want World War III.
And they're all about such yucky stuff. Like, all they're about these days is transgender, happy hour, library hour for children, kill your babies up until 9 months, totalitarian, squelch free speech, cancel people, destroy them, and prosecute them just like fascists. So, I mean, how is that hip? They like to call us the party of prudes because we have Christians, but compared to their fascist, totalitarian, weird, sexual, freaky, psycho stuff, that's not sex, drugs, and rock and roll like they were when they thought they were so hip in the 1970s. That's just pure creepiness.
Well, they have certainly become the party of evil creepiness. Walsh, Harris.
He looks creepy. The dude just, ew.
Like, what is this? I'm just like, oh boy, he's 60, I'm 60, and so I'm like,
he looks 20 years older than you. I mean, I usually don't criticize people's appearances, but when you've lived that creepy of a life, it's going to age you far worse.
It is, and I've said from day one they're throwaway candidates because the Democrats knew 2020 they ran their huge cheating apparatus to perfection. Pelosi, the money, the donors, all the cash. But once you do that, well, then the Republicans can say, okay, well, hold it. We had Rona, who was worthless at the RNC. So we had all these people who was assisting and helping, I firmly believe. And now you've changed stuff. And just even the little changes that we've done has had a massive impact. And nobody in their right mind wants to vote anymore for what Biden and Harris has put us through. They've not, if you can tell me, now you're a journalist and you watch this stuff, can you name one damn good thing they've ever done? In 4 years, have they done one good thing?
I'm really trying to think because I do consider myself objective. Like, I have left-wing friends and I will point out when they are right. Okay, yeah, Trump shouldn't have tweeted that. That was kind of rude. So I'm really trying hard to think. Biden is trying to do this student loan forgiveness, and thanks to the bar coming after me, I have massive law school loans that I haven't been able to pay off. So, that would benefit me. But on the other hand, I did write an article titled, I'm buried in law school loan debt, but it's not the taxpayer's responsibility to bail me out. So I don't even know if that one counts because I don't even agree with it,
Well, sometimes if it has an individualistic impact, I think that's, we can all, hey, we're all human. And when you have that many school loans, I had mine, I went to respiratory school, did pre-med for a little while. I had luckily I paid them all off, thank God. But so how is Carrie Lake looking? Because I'm really watching the Senate closely. And I'm gonna hit you on something else that I just found out today that I think you're gonna enjoy talking about a little bit. But first, let's start off with Carrie. How is Carrie looking against why anybody would vote for Ruben Gallego is just beside me. I cannot understand. Again, I look at that guy. He looks like a little troll. Left his wife at 9 months.
I call him.
Do you call him that?
Yep.
So
yeah, I call him a troll. Yep. Because he does. He looks like one. Dude, fix up your appearance, dress up. Don't look like a slob everywhere you go.
So I know she was down and she has been for a long time, but I would like to think there's probably some momentum. So what are you seeing there on the ground? Are you seeing her start to make a cut into his lead?
Yes. So I have been covering her race extremely closely. I've written a bunch of articles recently about it. Here's what's going on. First of all, the polls are all very biased. They always oversample Democrats, even though we have almost 6% higher voter registration for Republicans than Democrats in the state. oversample educated people who also tilt Democrat, and they tend to survey regular registered voters, not likely voters. I got that from Rasmussen a long time ago. You need to be surveying the likely voters. So first of all, so those polls are all biased, and Kerry came out with her own internal polling and some other polls that the MSM has ignored recently, showing that she is virtually neck and neck with Gallego. Second thing going on is we are a heavily Hispanic state. Phoenix recently, her Hispanics surpassed whites in the city. And Hispanics tend to vote for people with Hispanic last names, like if they don't know much about the candidates. So unlike Trump, who's running against somebody named Harris, a very white name, Kerry is running against somebody with Gallego. And I can tell you from personal experience going back here years, there's even a race that in 2022 in a super left-wing legislative district where a Republican Hispanic, no name, brand new candidate actually beat the Democrat, and everybody believes it was because of her name. So that is another huge factor going on. And then finally, yes, we do see some momentum and things turning around here. I've been getting Ruben Gallego's awful begging, crying text messages every day. Sometimes he'll even send out 2 about how he's, basically not going to win unless he has more money. And the most recent one I got said that Kerry now has more money than him. And that has been a problem. He's outraised her 3-1 throughout this race. But the reason we believe he has, and hopefully I'll have an article coming out on this shortly, we think it's just massive fraudulent donations. There's all kinds of smurfing. I'm sure you know about that going on.
Oh, yeah.
And, there's just all these sleazy donors, like the Soros types of donors.
So right now, I figure the Republicans will at least pick up 3, maybe 6 Senate seats. I think the stash is going to come back in Wisconsin. I think Kerry's going to end up pulling this out because the momentum with Trump right now. If you're a down ballot Democrat right now, you're in deep shit. And they know it because the numbers are they're just falling off the table. I see Nate Silver today. Now, Nate. Nate is going to really push towards that left-leaning polling. Well, a week ago, and I follow this stuff like 24/7, I'm watching it. And Nate had Harris up +4. Well, today he's got Trump up +11.
And this is like across the United States?
Yes.
Wow.
55-44. Real Clear Politics, which is RCP is, that's the one that even Mark and everyone looks at. Barris and all those guys. People's Pundit. They all look at that. They said today Trump is at, what did they say, 312 electoral votes with no toss-ups right now. 312 to 196. So if
and what's even more incredible, I just have to point out, is Trump has been hitting the battleground states harder than Harris and doing much better than Harris. So the popular vote is just like it's almost like a freebie. Like he hasn't been paying attention trying to win the popular vote.
and he's going to win it. He's up like +2 or +3 in the popular vote right now. So I'm sitting back and I'm like, wow. But she's not campaigned. For 2 days, she didn't campaign with 10 days left. How do you do that?
She's just a disagreeable, what was the staff turnover under her? I think they said
95%. Yep.
So she's just one of these horrible people. Nobody wants to be around her. And I guarantee you, her staffers are all saying, you need to be out there. You need to be pounding the pavement. And Harris is like, no, I'm having a bottle of wine tonight. I'm just going to chill. I ain't doing any more, this or that. That's what's going on. I mean, the woman is used to being handed everything. Everybody thinks she's a black woman. We're just going to hand her everything. And so she's been an entitled princess her whole life. She's not middle class. Her parents grew up in a wealthy part of Canada. She had a nanny.
They got 3 houses. I mean, you know, the stuff that they're doing gets overlooked. Doug Emhoff, you know, impregnated the nanny, slapped the girlfriend. All this stuff comes out. If that would be Trump, could you even imagine the outrage? It would just be off the hooks.
God.
So here's the last story I'm going to hit you with, and then we'll just finish up the interview because I know you got important stuff to do, and I told you I would not go over 45 minutes. The Senate. So you heard that my boy, son of a Mitch, that's Mitch McConnell. I like to throw that little cutism in there. Who's got a 37% heritage score right now. He said, I'm stepping down in November. Well, secretly today, we find out, and I got a congressman who's a friend who will hit me up with some stuff. He said, listen, they're going to do a secret ballot vote November 13th to replace McConnell. And John Thune, Tom Tillis, and Cornyn have put their names in to be the Senate Majority Leader. Can you imagine how disastrous for Trump to go from McConnell to one of these McConnell clones? And they're doing a secret ballot vote on November 13th. Loomer also broke the story. So it's just, can you even imagine?
It just pains me, but as somebody who has worked on so many political campaigns myself and for elected officials, I can tell you what's going on there is the sleazy rhino deal-making things behind the scenes, and somebody has got the goods on somebody else, is coercing them into doing that, and all what we got to do, and I think there is a solution, is we just have to keep getting whistleblowers and people to shine the light on deals like this. You know, everybody remembers when Carrie Lake came out and revealed a recording of how the former Republican Party chair, you know, was basically trying to bribe her not to run for Senate. And he was forced to resign after that. That kind of thing has to start happening. And I think at this point, with everybody's eyes and ears everywhere and social media, I think we're finally going to be getting to the bottom of some of these stories. And it's not just going to be speculation anymore. And I can tell you right now, the one thing I'm discovering, especially with these judges, it all comes down to blackmail and extramarital affairs for a lot of them. And that's what's happening with these people in the Senate, I'm sure. You know, once you find out, hey, you know, this Senator so-and-so, you know, we all know he had an affair with this woman. And so think of all the different people that can use that as blackmail on him. That's a lot of people being blackmailed from a lot of different directions on a lot of different issues.
Blackmail and extramarital. Yeah, you know, even the Republicans that go, you know, they go as married and wholesome, and you give them a year and they're divorced and they're having an affair over here, or they're drunk over at this party. And so in November, I can't make the announcement yet for 3 more days, but I got a big person coming on in November, and we're going to try to blow the lid off of all the stuff that happens behind the scenes. So that'll be a good one. I'll kind of keep you in the loop on that one, let you know what's going on there. I can't announce it till November 1st, but trust me, it's going to be one of those can't miss shows. So are you feeling better now? Do you feel hope? Do you feel like we're going to make it to the finish line? You know they're going to try some backhanded evil crap. But I've said the margin is so big that they can't cheat because they're being watched too closely. They're going to cheat, but it's just not big enough. The margin is so big, too big to rig, as Trump calls it, that they're not going to be able to overcome it. What's your final thoughts on the election?
So since they don't seem to be rigging it, like in Arizona at least, they probably are in Pennsylvania because the Democratic early voters are returning ballots in huge numbers there. But in states like Arizona, where we're massively beating them with early ballots, I believe they're going to try to do a huge ballot dump right around Election Day. And I don't know, how they're going to do it, but that's how I think they're going to try. What makes Arizona so fascinating, though, is because they know that, unlike these other battleground states, we do have a close to 6% voter registration advantage for Republicans. And in Maricopa County, it's even higher. It's 7%. So they're going to look really stupid if they try to pretend again that they had all these votes for Harris come in at the last minute. So my eyes are all over Arizona. You're going to want to watch Nevada as well, since they have so many early ballots returned. And Georgia. Georgia's another battleground state that is way ahead with Republican ballots. Because I think if they try to overload us with, these fraudulent ballots at the last minute, you're going to see something happen. And I don't know whether it's going to be an honest judge, but they've bit off more than they can chew. So yes, I'm super excited going in. I think we actually have a shot. I literally have been thinking the last few days to myself that some of these Democrats, when I keep hearing them talk about how depressed they are, they might just say, we're going to have to sit this election out and regroup and be better planned with the cheating for 2028 or 2026, because I feel like we might have finally overcome them.
Well, I'm going to agree with you. I think they've said to themselves, look, we blew everything in 2024. We've tried to take him off the ballot. We've tried to assassinate him. God said, nah, we're not going to let that happen. I mean, the man lives, I don't want to say he's charmed with everything that he's had to go through, but everything they've done to the man, he still shows up. He goes to New York. There's over 200,000 people, 20,000 people inside, 175,000 outside. And the Democrats right now are just taking the white flag and they're saying, okay, these numbers are going to be too big to rig. It's just too big, and we need to, and we're going to need to have to push everything back. And Vance is killing them. So every time they try to do some sort of interview, Vance ends up making him look like an absolute moron.
He was such a good pick. Oh my gosh, like he is one of the absolute best picks. The only other one I can think of who might have been amazing would be maybe like Vivek Ramaswamy. But I mean, I didn't even know anything about JD Vance. I just figured he was just as bad as Blake Masters because Peter Thiel had funded both of them. And the reality is he's the exact opposite. He wasn't born with a silver spoon in his mouth at all. He, worked his way up from poverty.
The future is bright. We've got young people coming aboard. We are the cool, hip party. We're the rebel party. And I think his legacy is going to be that he did create the party that broke the GOP. I don't think you're going to see the establishment. They're not going to survive the neocons. They're just not. Because America First people, you look at DeSantis, Vivek, Tulsi now, RFK's come into the mix, J.D. Vance, and I'm in Ohio, so I know J.D. I voted for him for senator. They're just so brilliant. They don't even want to interview these people anymore. You can't interview Vivek. He's probably one of the best speakers I've ever seen. So
yeah, they by putting dummy Kamala and gross Waltz out there, they miscalculated. I mean, did they just think that everybody was going to go for Kamala because she's, black? I mean, that's the stupidest thing, considering Hispanics are now voting more for Trump than they are for her. Democrats have lost the minority vote. They're in the process. She has the lowest percentage of the black vote, compared to both Biden and Hillary.
So Trump is going to pull 48% Hispanic. He's going to win the Hispanic vote. In 2020, the total black vote was 12% for Trump. Right now, he's at 28% black men. So
when Trump Jr. was in town last Wednesday, I went to see him, and he said that the biggest demographic that comes up to him now and asks for selfies is black men.
Well, Obama's talked down to him. The Democrat campaign is, hey, you're not black if you don't you're not one of us if you don't vote for Kamala. And people are tired of it. These people are saying no today. So some of the endorsements he's getting is just fascinating to me. But I'll get you out of here on this one. Today, Nicki Minaj endorsed him.
Endorse Trump or endorse
Trump?
Wow, because she's sort of a real odd one out there.
Yeah, she endorsed Trump. So they're again, it's the hip cool party, and there's so many good people that's come over now, and I love it for Trump because he's never been a racist guy. He's always cared for everybody. He had 2 gay guys get married in Mar-a-Lago, and people say, but he's a sexist, and I'm like, no, he's not. All you got to do is go.
Well, and I'll point out, he had a black girlfriend, but the mainstream media never points that out. And I can tell you, as a journalist, if you're writing an article about people accusing Trump of being a racist, that is proper journalism to throw in, that Trump previously had a black girlfriend. And they never, ever, ever put that in there, ever.
It's funny what they leave out when it comes to Trump, But, Rachel, we are winning. You look fantastic, so please keep up that great journey. And thank you so much for being on the show with me. You know how much I love having you on.
Thank you so much, Leo. It's been a blessing. God bless.
God bless you, dear. Have a good one, okay? All right, my friends. Rachel Alexander. What a wonderful lady she is. Just absolute wonderful. Yes, I have favorites. Okay, so don't hold that against me. But I love patriots who will come out and talk to patriots. It's not about how big you are or how massive your account is. It's about, are you a real patriot? Do you care? Because, see, Trump cares about everybody. We're America first. It's not America first only if you have this much money, or only if you're this kind of person, or only if it's this. No, that's not the case. And I love that about Trump. And that's why I feel so blessed to be America First, to be MAGA, and to get to talk to great people like Rachel. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's a great program. You guys got a lot of good insight. Follow her. It's capital RACH _IC. Rachel Alexander. Follow her on X. She's absolute must follow. She's an election. She was the head of election attorneys at Maricopa. She's smart. She's connected. She's got integrity. I don't care if she's one of the 3%. She will tell you the truth, and she will let you know what's going on. So, my friends, get you out of here a little bit early tonight. Great show, 8:50. All I want to do is bring America First people on. I want to be able to put people in front of you that's going to give you guys information. They're going to give you breaking news. They're going to tell you stuff that's happening. They're going to tell you what's true, what's not. We're going to break stuff like November 13th, the secret ballot. Please call your senators. Call people. We can't hamstring Trump right out of the gate. And that's what it does. So the GOP is to me is as pathetic as the liberals. They really are. You got maybe 5 to 7% that are worth a shit. And the rest of them, they just think they're in the good old boy club, or they're there being compromised. Extramarital affairs. You heard what Rachel said tonight. That's happening widespread. That's happening across the board. There are some dedicated people there, but most of them, they get there And the next thing that happens is they become compromised because oh my God, I'm this little country bumpkin from Nebraska, or I'm from wherever. And then I get to D.C. and here's all the drugs and alcohol and partying. And it's the whole system has become diseased, and it needs fixed. And we're going to point it out. And I don't care who the GOP think they are. A bunch of rich people that run around saying, oh, look at me. I'm great on social media. I don't give a shit. I want to see actions. When we have oversight committees, I want to see actual oversight. I don't want compromised people to stop our progress as a country. We're going to win, and we're going to get Trump back in there against all odds. Against all odds. Think about it. Think about everything he's had to go through to get him back. And we're going to win. Now, that's not easy. But we have him for 4 years. So I suggest that it's not just your running shoes till November 5th. It is all the hard work we're going to have to do afterwards, because the Republican Party is still infested with rhinos. So my friends, great shout out again to Rachel Alexander. Thank you, Rachel. You're one of the best. Guys, tomorrow will be 7 days. Tomorrow, Tuesday, a week from tomorrow, is the biggest election in our lifetime. Trump is winning, but do not take your eye off the ball. We still have another day to early vote in Pennsylvania. Get out there. They removed and arrested Val today, one of the RNC people, or one of the Republican people in Pennsylvania, because she told them to stay in line and vote. These people are pathetic, but we're going to point it out. And I'm on X, and I'm watching everything, and I am throwing bombs. Whether it's Chairman Whatley or Laura Lee or whoever, we're going to throw bombs. We're not going to sit back and take it. We are going to vote and win. So my friends, as always, stand tall, be accountable. Never let them take your hope. They're the ones that are hopeless right now. Think about it. They're flailing away like a fish out of water. And do me one last favor. Make sure, as always, you're roaring loud enough that they can hear you. I'll keep everybody updated on the schedule this week. We're trying to bring more people on, and then I'll let you know about the Election Day show. So have a great rest of the week. Vote if you're in Pennsylvania. Vote if you're in every state. Check your votes. Bank your vote. And say a prayer. God bless all of you. America first.